Political dynasties are nothing new to the Philippine government system. This practice has been apparent even before the 1987 Constitution. In our day and age, political dynasties have never been more rampant and utilized in a country's political system. But first, what is a political dynasty? Political dynasties are characterized as families that have established their political or economic dominance in a province and have coordinated efforts to move on to involvement in government or other positions of national politics that treats people prominently. Political dynasties usually have a strong consolidated support base concentrated around the province in which they are dominant. Members of such dynasties usually do not limit their involvement to strictly political activities and are also found participating in other activities ranging from business to culture-related ones. There have been numerous political dynasties that still dominates the arena until today, and this range from local influences to nationwide prominence. The following are just a few. The Aquinos. Originating from Tarlac, the dynasty began with Serviliano Aquino, who was a general during the Philippine Revolution and a delegate of the Malolos Congress. Then there was his son Benigno Aquino Sr., who was a speaker for the House of Representatives in the Second Philippine Republic. But the most notable from this dynasty are the Aquino Triumvirate, who made a mark in Philippine history. Benigno Ninoy Aquino Jr., Corazon Aquino, and Benigno Noynoy Aquino III, with both Corazon and Noynoy becoming president of the country. Next up are the Estradas. The Estradas dynasty all began with Joseph Erap Ejercito Estrada, who actually began as a famous film actor, transitioned to be a mayor of San Juan, then became a senator, then a vice president, and eventually becoming the 13th president of the Philippines. Together with having a wife who is serving as a senator during his term, Chloe Estrada. He eventually became Manila's mayor in 2013, thanks to former Arroyo granting him absolute pardon after he was ousted from his presidency in EDSA II. The legacy lives on with Jinggoy Estrada and J.V. Ejercito, who both served as mayor of San Juan, and now with Jinggoy being a part of the Senate since 2004. Next in line are the Marcoses. The Marcoses are one of the most well-known political families in the Philippines. The dynasty began with Mariano Marcos, who was a lawyer from Ilocos Norte, then became a member of the House of Representatives in 1925. Ilocos Norte remains to be the Marcoses' political stronghold today.
Martial law in accordance with the powers vested in the President by the Constitution of the Philippines.
The family was most prominent during the presidency of Ferdinand Marcos, the son of Mariano Marcos. Ferdinand Marcos made a mark in the country's history with how nefarious and dubious his reign was. But since his exile from the presidency, the Marcoses has since regained power and is currently active in Philippine politics. Imelda Marcos, currently a district representative, Jaime Marcos, a governor of Ilocos Norte, and Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., a former senator who is a candidate for vice presidency in the 2016 national elections. The Marcoses never failed to make their mark in the country's political scene. And lastly, the Ampatuans. The Ampatuan family has been in reign over the Maguindanao region since 2001. The legacy begins with Andal Ampatuan Sr., who was an elected governor of Maguindanao. His sons, Andal Ampatuan Jr. and Zaldi Ampatuan, were the former mayor of Datunsay and former governor of ARMM, respectively. Not everything is what it seems on how these families glisten with their legacy and mark in the country's history. Detrimental effects can come out from political dynasties, and the Ampatuans are a prime example of it. The stain in the name of the Ampatuan line is the result of one of the most horrific and negative effects of political dynasties in the Philippine political scene: election-related violence. The Ampatuans are the prime suspects in the Maguindanao massacre in 2009, which was dubbed as one of the most bloodiest gruesome election-related violence in the country, killing 58 people, 30 of which were journalists. According to political analyst Dennis Coronacion, political dynasties will continue to exist and remain relevant in the future as people continue to rely on them, especially during the time of crisis where the Philippine state is nowhere to be found.
You might say na, well, there might be a good chance that they would, they would disappear because of the pandemic. And sabihin nyo baka maging irrelevant na sila, considering the fact that there might be, an increase in the presence of the, government agencies doing their job, and in effect, putting the political dynasties out of job. Pero, the opposite is the case. I think they have grown stronger in the sense that people continue to rely on them, especially during the time of crisis. Wherein, more often than not, we can hardly feel the presence of, the Philippine state, yung mga state institutions. So in most cases, our state institutions fail us. For example, yung hospital system natin, nag-fail siya during the, recent surge in the number of COVID cases. So it is in these times na itong political dynasties proved themselves to be relevant. Pag binaba ng national government doon sa local government units, sila yung nakakasalo. So sila yung may control sa state resources, and all the more that they become relevant to the people. So I think they'll be very much in existence in the upcoming elections.
Coronacion also said the goal of political dynasty is self-serving, as they are based mainly on serving their own interest.
It has been proven by several studies na most of them are are only doing public service. They're engaging public service for the purpose of enriching themselves, pursuing their private interests, advancing their interests.
He highlighted that political clans often build a dynasty as a way to dominate the political arena and exercise their political power. He also explained that political dynasties are common in the Philippines because of our weak party system.
Kasi we can attribute it to the fact that we have a very weak party system. Napakahina ng party system natin. Theoretically, political parties are supposed to perform the functions of political dynasty. Mga political dynasties. Particularly, I'm referring to the function of the recruitment of political elites. Dapat kasi nagre-recruit ng political elites, hindi dynasty. Ang nagre-recruit dapat political parties. But in our case, since we have a weak party system, our political elites are being recruited from the members of the families, yung mga political families. Kung may umiiral sana tayo ng strong party system, yung competence-based sana to, merit-based. Kung sino man yung individual na may nagdi-display, may kakayanan magpakita ng leadership skill, good governance, kayang yan yung good governance, at saka yung mayroong ethical standards, hindi willing mangurakot, tapos mayroong ideology, may mga principles. So ito sana ang masusunod kung political parties ang nagre-recruit if we have a strong party system.
The question is, do political dynasties do more harm or good in the Philippine politics?
Not all dynasties in the Philippines are really bad. There are some dynasties that are capable of producing competent leaders. Ang sasabihin ko na lang is that on the general level, if we're going to look at the broader picture, they are doing more harm. Pag inad mo, cumulative, inaggregate mo, I think they are doing more harm to our democratic institution than good. And there are so many cases If you look at into, halimbawa, yung any corruption issue, madalas may isang member ng dynasty na involved. Sila nag-umpisa. Kaya kahit anong scandal in government, meron at merong member ng dynasty na involved. But there are some isolated cases of dynasties doing good to our system.
And to conclude, do you think there will come a time that there will be a law that would prohibit political dynasties?
If you look at the composition of our House of Representatives, even the Senate, so the entire Congress, makikita mo majority come from dynasties. Even yung that supposedly yung party list system natin, which is supposedly insulated, something that cannot be penetrated dapat by the members of the dynasties, na penetrate na rin nila. So, in the near future, I don't think so. It's not going to happen. Logic says na itong mga members of dynasties who are elected into Congress would not file a bill that would lead to their own death. So it's considered suicide. O if they would file a bill, baka mamaya maging batas yan, so ikamamatay nila. Poison nila yan eh. So, not in the near future. Pero may mga baby steps. May mga political reforms like I remember na, if I'm not mistaken, mayroon na tayong law whose aim is to strengthen our political parties. Pwede na yata sila mag-solicit campaign funds. So it might be a small move, pero at least we're moving forward to that direction na i-reforma natin ang ating political system.
Looks like political dynasties are here to stay in the country's political scene and would most likely continue to reign over even if a new leader sits in the presidency. I'm Dulcinea Zoeta, and this is Bantay Balota, bringing the most relevant issues this upcoming 2022 election.